Thank you, Chair. First of all, I just want to say, Hihani Washte, good morning to each and every one of us here today and on Zoom, and to our guest in the audience here. Dear Lord, as we gather around the room today, I just pray that you help us as we make decisions on behalf of our Oyate, our people across the reservation. I pray for all of our sick in the hospital today and all of the families that are getting ready for wakes and funerals today, Lord. Just want to remember them all in prayer today. Remember our youth. Just want to remember Tiny Dee this morning. You know, I think that she needs all of our prayers this morning, as we know that she's really having a hard time. Just want to remember her this morning and her family. And I pray that you help us to get some business done today, Lord, on behalf of our public safety issues across the reservation. And at the end of the day, I just pray that you give us all safe traveling mercies home. All this I pray in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Sonia. Blaine, can you give us some words of encouragement?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say it's a nice day also. Enjoy the day now. Hope you have a good meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Beef.
Second.
Second by Blaine. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
4-4, one not voting, motion carried. First item on the agenda, we have Charles Matlow. Go ahead and come up to the mic and introduce yourself. Yes, press the button and should have a red light come on.
Okay. Okay, just to introduce myself. I'm sure you know me already, but my name is Charles Malo. I'm from Kyle, Peshuta, Haka District. The reason I'm here this morning is, I'll keep it very brief. I'm not much for long speeches. So anyway, I was appointed as a prosecutor back in July. Some of you may have been there, meeting at Lakota Tech. And everything was, of course, everything was good, and I was appointed prosecutor. However, shortly thereafter, a person came forth with a protection order, which kind of put my appointment at a standstill. And we could have resolved it a long time ago, but the court process took a little while, kind of went on. But they did, it was dismissed. Glad to say it was dismissed. There was no merits to the case. It was immediately dismissed. However, it took a while, and that's the reason my appointment is valid. I say it's valid because you guys appointed me. I mean, you are senators, you are leaders. It is a valid appointment. And it is my hope and my prayer that I would be able to continue to work in the Kyle area. That's where I'm from. And I'm just seeking your guidance on what to do. I just came from HR this morning, and I was informed that I would have to start all over again. And that's, to be quite honest with you, I haven't worked since 2019, so I live by prayer, basically. So I had to borrow money to go to the first, background, have to pay for that and everything. Everything was passed. I'm just hoping and seeking guidance from me that I'd be able to continue my, at least a temporary appointment in the Kyle court area because, and just to briefly state, I am very well qualified, not bragging, but worked as a judge for 17 years, former detective sergeant, completed police academy, so on and so forth. I do have a bachelor's degree in sociology with some criminology. But I'll make it brief. But I really want to go to work. You know how it is on a reservation. Most of us, there's very little jobs, and we survive on kamato or whatever we could, to be quite honest with you. But I would like to go to work, and everything is in place. And I did provide a copy of the resolution that you guys appointed me back in July, and that is on record. I gave it to our attorney, Ms. Redow. So I'll just, I guess that's about it. Just make it brief, just to ask for your guidance. If there are any questions, I could sure try to answer them.
Thank you, Charles. We'll recognize Councilman Dillon, 1036. Anybody have any questions or comments to this? Go ahead, Sonia.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask our attorney. I know we did appoint, Mr. Montello, like he said, back in July. But then I know he was going through this issue with his a court issue. And I think when we met, and I think we couldn't appoint him, or he couldn't start working until he got through this. So now today he's here. He said he went through it. It was dismissed. So I need to ask the attorney, what does it have to go back through council for reappointment? Or, what do we need to do here? I guess that's the question I have for our attorney.
I wouldn't think so. I'm looking at the resolution right now, and I'm wondering why HR is saying he has to. So, you guys know how much a stickler is that the HR director is on stuff. So I'm looking at the in the heading. It says resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe approving the appointment of Charles Montlow to the Oglala Sioux Tribe prosecutor position pending background and drug test being cleared. So that's the title, right? But in the therefore be it resolved, it doesn't say it that way. It just says they approved the appointment of Charles Montlow to the vacant prosecutor position for a period of 3 years under the supervision of the OST Attorney General and compensation in accordance with ordinance number 25-63. Doesn't say pending background clearance. And so I'm wondering if that might be the holdup. I'm not sure, and I think we need to probably check with HR to see if that's what it is and if we need to amend this or what.
I think we need to probably get a copy of the council verbatim on this issue, an action that we actually took, because I know that was brought up when we appointed him, but we appointed him. And then it says pending background check and drug testing. So pending the background check, it seemed like when it got to the background check, this came up. Yeah. And so now he went through the court process and he got cleared. So it seems to me that he should just, now that he cleared, he can just start, because we,
I
we
think
need
he would need to present his documentation to HR on the dismissal, provide that documentation to HR.
Yeah, maybe you could do that.
But I don't know,
AG,
do you want to
say
chime
something?
in here on anything?
Yeah.
I think what happens is when they're getting hired, because that issue was brought to her, he would have to do a post adjudication and show that dismissal, which he did, but they're still asking for him to come back. So then I requested to be on the agenda to see if there was any more who applied, and then maybe we can run them all through together, if there are any.
Secretary, find out if any other applicants applied for the prosecutor? But we already selected him, So that's the other part, you know, that's why he shouldn't have to go back and do all this other stuff, is what we're saying.
I wonder if the HR director would take a motion from here to get him going.
Are on Zoom? Okay, that way we could hear.
So I'll recognize Councilor Dreamer at 10:39, but we don't see where the HR director would. Oh, yes, go ahead, Beef.
Oh, just a question. So you're saying you waiting for some more paperwork and then you'll be okay with that?
I'm okay with him now, but I just didn't know if there was other people who submitted since we've been advertising. Then I would like to pick up as many as like a couple more.
Yeah, there's 2 vacancies too.
But he's appointed for one.
Yes, in addition to him, so there's three, so.
Yeah, that's,
So we'll find out that, and then we'll, if you have a motion, Sonia, we'll run that.
Hear from the HR. Is she gonna get on Zoom?
Dawn stepped out to call her. Yeah, so do you think we can get Michelle on Zoom?
I just messaged her too.
So the second item of the agenda while we're waiting is the Attorney General. Do you have anything right now? Yeah. Okay. We'll go ahead and move forward with that while we're waiting.
Good morning. I have 4 agenda items. The first one is the prosecutors. The second one is we have a grant that really needs to be spent. And there's a court victim advocate coordinator and a court victim advocate. And since I've been here, we're gonna be going into 2 years now, I haven't been able to have anyone hired because they don't meet the qualifications. The wages are low and the qualifications are asking for a bachelor's degree with 6 years work experience for the coordinator. So I am asking if we can amend that and take it off, so that way more people can apply. And then on the court victim advocate, it's asking for an associate degree and 4 years of experience, but with that low of a wage, we're not getting anyone qualified there either. So I am asking for a motion to have the educational degree requirements on both job descriptions to be taken off. And I do support education and I do support having degrees, but because of the low wages, it's too, I can work with someone with just a high school or GED and train them up, and it would open up for more people to be able to get a job.
Go ahead, Sonia.
How many positions again? Was it 3 or 4? That's under this grant? 2 positions?
Yeah, a coordinator and a regular advocate.
Coordinator and a regular advocate. And, you know, why can't we increase the pay rather than decrease the educational part of it? I really, I'm a strong supporter of education myself. And but yet, it seems like we always do that, decrease the educational part, but why don't we work on trying to increase the pay of these two positions? Your grant only allows for a certain pay rate? Yes. And they won't go, what if we supplement it?
When I first started to make the changes to here, I did try to increase them instead. And I think this is the one that Ann Cross did for us and the Victim Services Program. So it came with a set amount. So I already ran it through her, and that these salaries are written into the grant that way. So they can't go any higher because there's a cap on them. So then this was the last resort, was to take off the education requirements. And then, okay, so you guys granted the Attorney General's office a nice budget from the court fees.
Yeah.
And in there, I had supplement money for the victim services, or for the victim advocates. When we submitted our budget to finance, they took 47% of that money, and it left us with only enough money to carry the additional prosecutors. So out of that 488,000, we only got 200 and some thousand. So
Who took the 47%? You said the tribe, but what,
finance, at the time it was,
IDC?
yep.
Indirect costs?
Yep.
I wonder what rate. They shouldn't have taken a. That's pretty high. That
it
was
is.
really high. And so,
John Long did say he was looking into it for me, but we had to submit that budget, and there wasn't a way around it.
because that's a really, we're not at that rate right now, the 47%. Yeah. At that, when did you submit this?
Maybe like last month.
See?
Because I've been fighting it this whole time.
Yeah.
And we finally had to get it submitted.
Yeah, I think we should revisit this, but I think we should send it to Finance Committee.
Okay.
And so we could look at it, and we could, especially on this IDC rate.
Okay.
I really
Is that
think
your
we need
motion?
to, yeah, that'll be my motion
Okay.
to send Attorney General's second item on the grant for the coordinator and the advocate to the Finance Committee, so we'll get the documents. Yeah.
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 Can we get a packet of what you have there for
Yeah.
the secretary?
Give it to Dawn so she can get it to us.
So we have a motion by Sonia. And could you repeat that motion? And second by Jackie.
Yeah, my motion was to forward the Attorney General's two positions under the grant. What's the name of the grant? Well, regarding the grant, she just presented to us this morning for court victim advocates, and forward that to the Finance Committee tomorrow. Regarding the IDC rate.
44%.
Yeah. 47%.
47.
Yeah.
Because these positions are very important. These are the ones that will be working with the assault victims, yeah, and getting them ready for court.
Okay, roll call.
Oha.
Yes.
Yep.
Six, four, motion carried. And we'll forward that on to finance.
The next item is need to have a motion to advertise for the Inspector General.
Motion by Craig, second by Sonia.
On this position, and I think when we talked about it, we also wanted to set it up, and I know the HR director just walked in, but she was on Zoom that day. We want a good hiring panel for this position. And I think that she also recommended maybe bringing in some attorneys or somebody to that to sit and interview this position. Because right now, the way they do it today, when you put in for a job and you go to an interview, it's just made up of who she polls, she said, out there. So it could be, you know, people, employees, tribal employees that get on the panel, and they're the ones interviewing and selecting. So again, I think this position is really critical. We really want somebody in there, but we need somebody in there with a good hiring panel. So just want to make sure of that. So I just, since HR is here, just want to make sure we have a good, I don't want to hear, we don't want to hear nothing back that was, we had all these different ones in the tribe again. No, it should be somebody neutral and made up of people with law background or something that can interview him, whoever puts in for it. Just want to say that.
Craig?
You know, a lot of times people put in, and if they don't have interviews right away, they lose interest. And I think we should be looking for quality, a person with a good education, good standing. And so that's something we need to decide, is if it's going to be for 30 days or whenever somebody puts in that meets the qualification that we meet and hire.
I would recommend starting off with 30 days, and then if we don't get anyone for some reason, then we can open until filled at that point.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, I have a comment on the, the salary of the position. When you advertise it, are they gonna put that amount on there? Are we gonna let them know if they got selected, let them know, and then if the salary's not to their liking, they're gonna leave, and then we're gonna start from square one again. I really think we need to put a amount on there so they don't waste their time. If they see that amount, they're gonna say, yes, I can, you know, that's a good salary, I'll go for it, but if it's too low, then won't be bothering to put in for it. You know, we go through that all the time, and it really puts us behind. So we need to start putting critical positions like this, we need to put that salary amount in there. That's what I would recommend.
Agreed. So we're advertising for 30 days first, right? Okay. Roll call.
Craig Dillon? George Dreamer? Sonia Little Hawk Weston? Jackie Sears? Blaine Little Thunder?
Yes.
Beef Randall?
Yes.
6-4, not voting.
6-4, 2 not voting. Okay.
The last agenda item is the acting chief of police and some other interested department personnel came up with a training schedule that we want to do for the month of January. I combined all of the information that I thought we can improve for public safety. And we want to do drug interdiction, Mexican drug cartel investigations, and we have the AUSA's office and FBI agents who are willing to do that training. Fentanyl and dangerous drug investigations, along with Narcan use. Search warrants, arrest warrant refreshers, domestic violence, trauma-informed response specifically in strangulation and sexual assaults, securing and documenting the crime scene and bulletproof report writing, evidence collection, interviewing techniques, and transitioning a scene from patrol to the criminal investigator, testifying in federal court and tribal court, and then civil rights violations, and then refreshers on the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. And we do have people who are willing to come in and do these trainings for us, so we set them up for January. All-day trainings, 4 days, and we don't have any money to feed them in our budgets, and we're inviting the surrounding agencies, and we're trying to take the leadership role as far as law enforcement goes and be the host agency for these. And that way the officers can get their hours in, and we can be connecting with other tribal police officers. So the acting chief of police and I we're asking if we can get a referral for a place that can help us get this taken care of. It would be for 4 lunches.
Go ahead, Sonia.
You know, that really sounds good. I'm really glad you guys are taking the initiative to provide this training to our law enforcement and whoever else needs it. Your office, the courts really need to have this training, you know, for them. Yeah, and I really think maybe you should bring a budget, provide a budget on the meals. And I think we can probably forward this also to Finance Committee, and we could find the money to help with the meals if that's what you need. Sure. I think the other place is wherever you're going to have it. I know they do charge a rental of the conference room, whatever. I don't know if you want to set something maybe at they'll all fit over there at the public safety. If not, you know, you got the casino conference room, or you got the Oyata Techa building in Kyle. They're big, as well as that multi-purpose building in Kyle at the Piawichoni. I mean, so there's different places where you can probably hold it, but, you know, put a budget together for like how many people and for the meals, and I think we can run that by Finance Committee and get something approved for you. So I'll make that motion to have the Attorney General put together a budget for this training in January for the meals and whatever else she needs to add on there, and forward to the Finance Committee.
So we have a motion by Sonia, second by Jackie. Go ahead and roll call.
George Dreamer? Craig Dillon? Sonia Little Hawk Weston? Jackie Sears? Blaine Little Thunder?
Yes.
Beef Randall?
Yep.
6-4.
6-4, motion carried. Go ahead, Craig. Okay. Okay, thank you. So now that Michelle's here, we'll go back to Charles, and she's requesting executive for this one. So I'll just declare us 11 o'clock.
Recording stopped.
So just in case, committee's wondering, lunch is gonna be served today, so. Okay, Sonia. Go ahead and state your motion.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to, reaffirm, Mr. Charles Montello, as one of the prosecutors that we, pending his,
Recording in progress.
pending his, background of dismissal, and to have the attorney draft that resolution and, forward it to tribal council at the end of the month.
Second that motion.
Motion by Sonia, second by Blaine. Go ahead, Beef.
Without the black and white paper, I'm just reflecting that you were adamant about black and white the other day.
Well, this was the one that him pending the background, but because Nelson have a 3 days by ordinance, so we're just gonna reaffirm.
Roll call.
George Dreamer? Yes. Craig Dillon, Sonia Little Weston, Jackie Sears, Blaine Little Thunder,
Yes.
Keith Randall.
Yep.
6-4.
6-4, motion carried. Okay, so that does it for Charles and the Attorney General. Item number 3. This one is a referral from HHS. Shoot, yeah, I think,
I'm looking at it real quick here, I didn't see this, and I just checked with the other attorneys and they didn't see it.
do you guys need some time to go over it? Because she's not here today.
Is it just information?
Yeah, remember she was in, HHS up in Rapid.
Oh, that one, I thought you were talking about the contract.
Yeah.
Never mind. Never mind me.
Is this the one on the Equa?
Yeah.
Is it just informational, or what does she want us to do?
Well, we,
Said that,
okay, so we'll go ahead and move on from that one. The next item is the resolution, which is in your packet for the secretarial election. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, I think the thing that they need, since they're not going with the signature part of it, because you have to have like 2/3 signatures of the voting members, but they're going through the tribal council, so what they need is a resolution to take these to approve for the secretarial election with 2/3 of the council present. So that's what this is about. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this and send it to council.
So we have a
Second.
motion by Jackie, second by Sonia.
Yeah. It's
For approval?
Yeah, because it's interpreting the 2/3 vote.
For approval and send on to council.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Beef.
It's just a question. When you said 2/3, that's just the people that are gonna be there that day, right?
so, in the letter that, the president sent, we discussed this last time. So the letter that was sent to the BIA, on this was from the president, and what he said was that the council had a special session, and in that special session, September 16th, this matter was discussed. And it was discussed that the way that council is interpreting it is that it's 2/3 of the council reps present. And so that's what he sent to the BIA. And so what they asked for in response to that was that the tribal council adopt a resolution that affirms the tribal council's interpretation of the constitutional 2/3 vote requirement under Article 11. And then also that it confirms the council's request for the secretarial election in accordance with the tribe's constitutional amendment procedures. So, with the tribe's interpretation of the 2/3, under Article 11, it doesn't specify, it just says 2/3 of tribal council. So, just in past practice, you guys are going with 2/3 of council present, unless it's specifically stated somewhere else in tribal law addressing a matter where it requires 2/3 of the full council. So there's nothing under Article 11 that expressly states it has to be full council. So that's my understanding of the discussion. And so this resolution is affirming that discussion that council had on September 16th. So.
I'm just making a comment because I've seen some actions that were taken prior to us guys sitting here. There's only 5 members taking action and really got the council in a deep financial burden here.
Yeah.
And it would be the same way eventually when a secretarial election happens, when some of these guys are gonna say, we could not have done that, so that's just a verbiage.
So this will be, this resolution will be brought forward to tribal council, and you can hash it out there, pass it or not pass it, and then we'll know.
What Mr. Councilman Randall is saying is, when we started this administration, we sure came in with the thinking that, okay, we want, has to be this many for the quorum. So every standing committee had how many of us that signed up for it? As time went on, we couldn't even get a quorum. So what did we do? We moved it back down to 5. And every one of us in here voted on it to put it to 5 members. So that's what happens. You know, we start out really just strong about making sure everybody's there. But you see now, they don't come. They only come when they want to pass something on the committee and on to council. Then they leave. So you see that too. So again, our quorum drops down to 5.
Okay, so we'll do the roll call on that motion.
Yes.
No.
5-4, 1 no, 1 not voting. Motion carried. Go ahead, Ed.
Morning, council, all the staff there. I just wanna, could be considered trivial or could be considered serious, but suppose that this 9-member goes through, they vote on it, it goes through, 2/3 of 9. That's gonna be quite the 2/3 of 9 people. And then if all 9, then you'd almost have to change the quorum for 9. What would the quorum be for 9? So I mean, I'm just saying that, it's way down the line, but if it did go that way, that's what the questions that would need to be asked. Yep.
So for council, 2/3 to make quorum is 14. So then it becomes 2/3 of 14.
Yeah. Well, I was saying that if, say, these secretarial elections, if they went through, the 9, 1 per district, if it was 9, then you would need 2/3. Would you do 2/3 of 9? I mean, that's kind of a.
Well, that's right. So with
council or committee, all these decisions that are being made here, I mean, there's gotta, I mean, to, just exactly that. Say that we went 9, say that people voted 9, you would have to almost redo everything. So when you have, I mean, these are the dialogues. Imagine that when the voices of elders go out and talk to the districts, that's something that I don't think the general population realize these things that, you know, that are policy and procedure. They just think, well, all 9, but, so yeah, I mean, those, and maybe somebody from the council or maybe somebody could attend this meeting and explain that to them. This is what's gonna happen should this go through, you know, I mean, yellow, open.
Well, thank you, Ed. Yes, we're trying. That's all we can
Yeah.
say is we're trying. But go ahead, Jackie.
You know, I think this is the intent of the voices of the elders. They want things to come back from the districts to council. So that's the intent, I think, is to get these issues coming from the districts now. Because we make all the decisions in committee with our people not being informed. So maybe that's something that they're looking at. So there'll probably be plans after that coming up to address those issues. I mean, that's just my assumption.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, the next item, number 5, OST gaming contract. That one's in your packet in the back there. For secretarial? Yeah. Yep. I didn't even ask. I know, and on this one here, we don't see the grants committee form on this one too. It's for, a contract for the gaming commission, law firm. Becky Randall.
But does that go to grants committee?
I'm not,
Because that's the gaming commission.
right? That,
They're just bringing it over to the law and order committee, which is their standing committee. And then it, would probably need to go to, council.
It goes to council, it goes to legal for review, so I'm kind of looking at it right now, because it wasn't brought to us, so,
And they always used Homer law.
yeah.
So I'm gonna make a motion to, forward this to legal office for, review and bring back to law and order committee. And then we could send it on to council.
Okay, because I do see one provision here that I wanted to double check. Otherwise, I've looked through it, it doesn't look bad or anything, so, but there's just one provision on the, I think we need to reword it differently.
I'm gonna change my motion to just, forward to legal office, and if everything is okay, to forward on to council.
okay. So we have a motion by Sonia.
Shouldn't I go to finance? It has to do with dollars?
What's the process you used before?
Jackie, second, yes.
George Dreamer,
Yes.
Craig Dillon, Sonia Little Weston, Jackie Sears,
Oh,
Blaine Little Thunder,
Yes.
B. Frando.
6-4, motion carried. And that one's forward to legal and then to council? Okay. So, next item on the agenda, it's all you, Rian.
Is that you or is that Lisa?
Is that Lisa?
That's usually Lisa.
Okay.
That's usually Lisa. I don't have anything,
Okay.
to present. I just, our discussion we had this morning, but I can,
Yeah, go ahead and ask her, because this is the last item we have, and,
I don't think she had anything.
go ahead, George.
Thank you, Chair. Did we get an update on, that lady that happened with her son? Did we ever get an update of Steve Gunn brought back a report on if he helped him with that appeal or anything? Did they ever get back to you guys?
So Steve's aware of it. He hasn't, made contact with them yet, but I just want to remind you guys that an appeal is done by the prosecutor's office. I said that last
Okay.
time, but, so, that's something that, did you reach out to the US attorney on that?
I think Cora did, but she didn't mention it.
Okay, so I know Cora was gonna reach out to set up a meeting, but you were supposed to reach out to talk to them about the appeal, because remember, there was a 14-day period that, and, so we don't have any information on the whole case, but I know we had a conversation this morning, and I just want to throw this out there. You guys gave me a directive to include minors in the banishment, and I think we need to discuss that more thoroughly, because we're looking at a banishment of a 13-year-old. And what does that mean? And I just have some issues with the whole thing myself, because we're looking, what happened was horrible, really horrible, and irreparable harm to a family. But how do we banish somebody who's 13 years old? That's a question I have. What's gonna become of that 13-year-old, you know?
Question, comment?
Real quick, Sonia, before you, make your comment, on the lawyer, yes, I got you down, Craig. Whenever that came up with the issue of our, lawyer representing this lady for an appeal, Cora was looking into it, but she told me that, she thinks it was illegal for our lawyer to represent somebody else outside the tribe for that appeal. Is that correct, Rhea?
I'm sorry, I was.
Yeah, that's okay. Cora, after, last week's meeting, whenever, they made the motion for, Steve Gunn to look into the appeal, Cora brought up and that's why I didn't move on anything, that our lawyer can't represent anybody outside the tribe?
Only at the direction of council, so, or committee.
So it can
But
happen.
I just want to remind you guys too, you gotta be careful on what you assign us, because it'll open a can of worms if we start representing individual families.
So we have Sonia, Craig, and then Jackie.
You know, I think that, I just wanted to say, you know, a while back when, Mr. Long brought that issue to the council about charging minors with, as adults. And oh boy, US attorneys wanted this done with I heard it that day because he brought it. You know, these people we put on board here, when they're new, they should understand our process. But they took that straight to Mr. Weston, and they wanted that done right away. And I really felt that should have came through Law and Order Committee first, and we could have had some discussion on it. But it didn't come that way. It just went right directly to the tribal council, and you guys approved it. That's why I brought it up last week when this issue came up about this young man. What happened to that? You know, brought in Mr. Long and questioned him about it. You know, what about, you pushed this through? And what is the feds doing now? You know, this young, or the state, they're just gonna release him after he's sat in jail for a year. And now we heard this young lady come here, the mother, really unhappy about it. You know, yes, we understand that there's gonna be minors doing really crimes that, you know, can be cases like this. But yet, we look at the banishment side of it, and, you know, you say, oh, 13 years old, how could we banish him or her? You know? So we should have looked at it like that too. But nobody thought about that. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, I don't know. But I know I wasn't in council that day. I was excused, but I heard that. So again, we're talking about banishment of these young people. And I have a, I don't know which way to look at that now, because we passed this other law that said we're gonna charge you as an adult. You know, people are listening out there, so I want them to hear what we're talking about today. You know, when we're talking about banishment. You know, we included that, it's in the ordinance, it's in there about including them as part of banishment. So now we need to really think about that, but there's other cases. To me, it's a case-by-case issue. And in the past, we've assigned our tribal attorneys to look into certain cases. And I don't think it should open the door to, have our attorneys looking at every case. But it's also in our Constitution, about, I don't know what section is, Rayanne, but, we always fall back on it about helping our people, representing them. And so that's kind of why we always assign an attorney to look, but it's a case-by-case issue. It's not like just giving it to everybody, but we do it case-by-case. So again, it's happened in the past. I know of some cases that we had to assign attorneys to. And so this is one of them. I wish we could hear from Mr. Gunn, find out what happened there. But that's just my input on it. But, we did one thing, and then now we want to think about whether or not we should banish or not. But yeah, maybe that's something we need to discuss. But again,
I would like to have a conversation on that, because I think, so from my understanding, Steve hasn't reached out to the family yet or made contact with them, so that's still out there, and he will. But what I was talking about was the inclusion of minors in the banishment, because right now it's stated 18 years and older if they commit those certain crimes. And so I started looking into it just because of minors, where they're at developmentally, mentally, and so we don't know, we don't have specifics or details on this case or anything, and juveniles can be incarcerated until they reach the age of majority, which is 18 or 21, depending on the jurisdiction. And so cases, they can be transferred into adult court. For some reason, this case doesn't seem like it got transferred, even with that letter. So I was looking at it, and the judge has, when they're considering a transfer of a minor to adult court, there's a lot of things that they look at, that they take into consideration. And one is the developmental age of that individual. They get psychological and intellectual evaluations done. And they look at, the individual's history for trauma, child abuse, things like that. So I don't know what happened in this case. I don't know why the sentence was so short, but they look at, what does this child understand in terms of consequences of their actions? How, I would think there's some other stipulations in that court order. I just have a hard time thinking that it's just a one-year done deal. There's got to be some stipulations in there for some kind of counseling or some kind of rehabilitation. And that's the other thing they consider is how open is this individual to be rehabilitated? Is rehabilitation going to be helpful? So those are factors that a judge would take into consideration. And so I'm thinking about this, and we can add it to our banishment. We can do what we want, but I also want to know what you guys think about. Okay, so we banish a 13-year-old. What does that mean? What does that 13-year-old do once we banish them? We're throwing away a 13-year-old for a crime that they committed, which was pretty awful. So do we just banish them and leave, what happens after that? I guess I'm just trying to figure out, is there a better way to address this? I don't know. I just would like to have that conversation. And of course, I'll do whatever you guys tell me to do, but these are thoughts that were crossing my mind.
We got Craig, then Jackie, and then Beef.
I listened to your concern, and I guess it's falling on deaf ears. We've had 2 very senseless acts of homicide on this reservation by young people. And we are a society of monkey see, monkey do. And that's my biggest fear, is that these guys get out and come back here, we're gonna have a rash of those senseless killings. And every time we bend over backwards to appease somebody, we put somebody else in danger. These acts, a guy was at a powwow and broke up a fight, which any normal human being would have done. And he got killed right there on the powwow grounds for no reason. And then this kid's going around shoving a gun in everybody's face saying, I ought to shoot you, I ought to shoot you. Then he does it and kills somebody. It's such a senseless act is right. But, the lives that were taken, they're not coming back. They're not getting no second chance here on the reservation. Nobody's going to cut them any slack because they're dead. And as far as I'm concerned, these 2 young men, they need to pay at least 20 years so they'll know what they did is wrong. You think about it, them families have lost members that aren't going to be there for Christmas. They're not going to be there for birthdays. They're not going to be there for celebrations that come down the road. There's going to be an empty chair sitting at that table. And because of people who are acting like lunatics and they senselessly kill somebody because they can, I'm sorry, I don't see any pity here. And my motion was to have Steve Gunn help her with the process. It was no assigning him to do it, just help her with the process for the appeal. That was my motion. Yeah, so it was just to help her get up there and who to talk to so her appeal can be filed. And on that sentencing, which I think needs to be done. Because we bring that young man back here, there's going to be people slapping him on the back, telling him how cool he is, what he did was awesome. That happens. And it's only going to perpetuate more of the same bullshit. And that's my biggest fear. I had a first cousin that killed somebody. He went to prison for life. And you know, he got basically what he had coming because he senselessly killed a girl. And then I had one cousin that shot a guy and got away with it. And to me, that was still wrong. He should have paid a penalty because a life was taken. And I always look at that. When you take somebody's life, it's a very, very terrible thing that happens because that person ceases to exist. And I don't know, I just think that there has to be consequences across the board because they've killed somebody. They have done a senseless act that resulted in somebody's death. And you know, the parents of these individuals should be held as high as anybody else because if you don't tell your child no now and then, you're raising somebody that can be a psychopath because anything they want, they get. Anything that they want to do, they allow them to do it, and that's wrong in this day and age. You have to set limits for your child. So I mean, I'm not impressed with what happened here. I want accountability because we owe that to our tribal members. A safe environment. And if this kid comes back and kills somebody else, that should be on everybody that votes to allow him to come back here and do that. Because I for one, will not vote for him coming back here after he did such a senseless act. Because there's a difference between an accident and a killing. But when you point a gun in somebody's face and ask if you want to die, that's wrong. Because all it takes is a little bit of that trigger to go off and you're dead meat. It's a very sad situation that happened, and my heart goes out to those who lost loved ones, not for the people who are alleged innocent people. They're bullshit. They're guilty as the day is long.
Thank you, Craig. Go ahead, Jackie.
Well, mine was basically on the other part of it, of what they were talking about, representing a case, you know, from the tribe. They're saying that once we open up the door, but you know, the thing is, when you're our people have to, you know, get help from the tribe because they don't have the money to look into these things. So I think that was one of the reasons why we did direct our legal to look into certain cases and help write something, or, you know, to basically try to help them to get things done in different states or different, you know, courts, because we know our people can't afford it. And in the Constitution, it does state that, you know, they are afforded that right as a tribal member in these kind of cases. And also, you know, they're afforded to go to court here, so all that's in place. We have a court set up. But when we have certain cases where something's off the reservation, we have to have our attorneys look into it for our people. That's how I interpret the Constitution too. So I just wanted to make that comment because, you know, when you're saying that our attorneys shouldn't get involved, but we did before on certain ICWA cases and things like that with different states. So we have to look at that and help our people because they don't have the funds to fight a bigger court system or go into a different state. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Go ahead, Beef.
It's a very complicated process, whereas the tribal council is held at the end of it. But you gotta look back from 1885, where it's a Major Crimes Act, where we lost our sovereignty. So we lost our jurisdiction, we lost these cases, and they happened off the reservation. And we just had this morning positions that we had to advertise and a process another person has to go through. We cannot even get our own court systems to be liable for anything. So at some point or another, we got to realize, let the people know that some of this stuff is out of our hands. It's falls under the Major Crimes Act. And, it is a sensitive issue of, banishment because we're lost from our culture. People got to be made aware of the cultural ramifications of killing somebody. There's a Tiwi Chakte. If you kill somebody, you have to follow some rules within your own society. Well, we lost a lot of components of our society, and one of them is law, correcting our own, addressing our own. So, if anything, we have to revisit ourselves as a council and start setting up a process where if a person or family doesn't really understand what's going on outside this court off the reservation, we got to have a different lawyer to help them. Like you said, on ICWA, intervenes in certain legal matters. It's the same way with understanding the Major Crimes Act. And until we get our own law and order in order to help us, we can't have problems with somebody else's. We lost that in 1885 and such. So we got to strengthen ourselves up and see how we're going to do it. I can understand our legal, and I feel the same way, of a child. And I can understand Greg's point too. Craig's point too, you know, but we got to strengthen ourselves and acknowledge what we lost, our own tribal sovereignty. And people got to understand that. And families got to understand what we had lost. And families got to understand that they got to correct their own families. So it's a long journey for us. And we can't take it up with just the tribal council being that answer. So that's just my 2 cents in the whole scenario.
Thank you, Beef. Go ahead, Sonia.
Just real quickly, you know, when we always fall back on the Constitution, I was just reading our Constitution, and it says in the Constitution under Article 4, Powers of the Council, you know, there's under Section 1, letter B, it says to employ legal counsel for the protection and advancement of the rights of the Oglala Sioux tribe and its members. So it's our authority as tribal council to employ legal counsel. So we employ these attorneys to work for not only us as a tribe, but for our members, on behalf of our members. That's how I look at it. And I think we always been saying that because, you know, we'll hear attorneys, you know, say, well, don't open the door because then you're going to have all these people coming and they're going to want to be represented. But it's in our Constitution. So when the council, you know, that's our power to, you know, take action on things like this. And so that's what we did. And like my colleague said, you know, we did it with ICWA cases and we did it with other certain cases. So it's a case-by-case issue. And I know it's really a tough issue sometimes that comes back to the council and we have to make decisions. But, you know, like Councilman Dillon said, you know, these are really some like crimes that young people are committing today. And then it's a slap on the wrist and they can come back and, you know, we got to let, you know, bring some closure to these families that are dealing with these things. And it's really hard, you know, and I think that that's why I brought up that resolution that was brought forward, that resolution or ordinance by Mr. John Long, you know, Chief of Staff, and he wanted council to approve it right now because the U.S. attorneys wanted something passed to charge our young people as adults, and that's what was passed. And so now it comes back to the tribal council when we discuss banishment. So it is a really tough issue, especially when you're underage. But, you know, that's something that I think council really needs to think about, but it's in our it's in our, ordinance for banishment, but like, our attorney said, it's 18 years old on up. But, I don't know if we made a amendment to that to lower it. So I think that's gonna be coming to tribal council, but, it is a really tough issue, but it's in our, I just wanted to comment on the constitution of the Oglala Sioux tribe. And that's what we fall back on.
That's what we had, last meeting, Rianne look into. So she's still researching all of it, but go ahead, Rianne.
No, I appreciate the feedback, and I'm not saying we don't want to take these cases. I'm just saying that some of them could possibly open up a can of worms for us. But I understand, and I appreciate Craig's clarification too. So, like I said, I just wanted to get feedback or hear your concerns or opinions on the banishment of minors. And I'm like Beef. I see both sides of it too. And so, I just, like I said, I was kind of struggling with it because these are our young people, you know, and I don't know what the answers are, how to help people, but we can definitely banish, but again, think about how does that work in reality, you know? So we can make the ordinance, we can amend the ordinance for that, but I was just thinking in my head, how does that work in reality? So, thank you.
Go ahead, Beef.
And just to add, I want to say thank you too for that quote from the Constitution. But right now, I think we got it set up so where legal represents a committee and a structure within the tribe. We can go outside of that and create another lawyer to help these individuals that do need help. And we have the most social programs in the world on the Pine Ridge Reservation. They should be able to come and help us set an avenue of thought. We got a lot of social programs that can assist us. So we could just send it out there and start the discussion anyways at the process.
I just wanted that feedback from you guys, so.
And then the last one, go ahead, Don.
Lisa said it was the Sarah Harris, the ALJ.
We did that last.
Okay. Okay, that's it then.
So, who had that motion?
Karen Archer, would you guys do it?
2 weeks.
Okay, because, you know what they're doing there, the state is really stealing our children. But they when they don't have a court process, yet they're still using it to remove children, that's bullshit. And that should have been brought to us before it was ever used. And when she first talked to me about this, I was in awe because I work for social services. I was like, what? When did this happen? And she said it's been going on for quite a while. It didn't happen when I was there, so after I left, it happened. But that is a way of stealing Indian children without any court process. Once you sign that contract, you're obligated by it. I say bullshit. That's just a signature thing. And we need to really have our lawyers look into that because that is a way of removing our Indian children from their families and putting them in some place where the state can draw all that money all the time. That's all it is, boils down to money. So I really appreciate her bringing that, and we need to get some clarification and get that ironed out before it continues.
Yeah, we also remember passed the kinship, just this past council too. So that's enacted, you know, to protect our children. But go ahead, Sonia.
Yeah, I think maybe to bring back, maybe an update, maybe Rayanne. We had our ICWA attorney that was here about 3 weeks ago, I think Mr. Sword, and he shared some information with us during that time, as well as the CPS director. And we did really have concerns about it, and we kind of spoke out about it with the state, DSS. And so he was to come back in 2 weeks and give us a report as to if the state was transferring any of our cases back to tribal court under ICWA. And I don't know if that ever happened. I know I missed a meeting, but I do know, I want to see a report back to see if they're actually transferring cases back to our tribal court under ICWA. Because we asked him also to, he did, if you, and any of you read your emails, he did send us I don't know if I should say it, maybe that part needs to be an executive, but I really think that he needs to come back with a report as to telling us if any of the ICWA cases are being transferred back. Because I do know he told us that, member judge will not transfer any cases back. And she did question us as legislators, could we get involved with amending that part on the, what was it now, the one that the former chief judge did, Abresk, what was that? Standing orders. So what do? We amended that. But now that judge was questioning that. And I think we need to get Mr. Gunn involved here. I think that's what our action was. If they weren't transferring any cases back, we need to have Mr. Gunn on it to start. I think we talked about that. Maybe to remove that judge because, she's already showed where she stands. And we as legislators, this is our jurisdiction. That's a state court. They have no jurisdiction over here, but again, we're a sovereign nation, so they should understand that we make our own laws here on the reservation. So I wanted to hear something back on that,
That's your motion?
Yeah, because I read the verbatim, and I will hope you guys all read it too. It was sent to us, and you can see the way and how they handle our cases up there. So that'll be my motion to have the legal office, not really the legal office, but I would think that we would need Mr. Sword back here and maybe the CPS director at our next meeting. I don't think we'll be meeting next week, huh?
No.
So no meeting probably in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Rianne.
So we did get an email from Mr. Sword, Attorney Sword, and the judge did a conditional order of transfer, so, of one case anyway. So what we'll probably do is have a legal team meeting tomorrow on Friday, because we try to meet on Fridays when we can. So maybe we can try to do that tomorrow. So I'll let Lisa know to set that up, so.
You attorneys need to look at it.
On the conditional order?
No, on the actual, when the court case is happening, where he said it's really concerning.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so I would think
Yeah,
the
so-
attorney should read that, because I read it and I wasn't too
Yeah.
pleased with what was going on up there.
Yeah, so I think, we were kind of waiting to see the outcome of the transfer cases that he was waiting for, remember? So I think what we can do is just go ahead and have a meeting with him tomorrow and, discuss it at least, see what are some options, I guess, so, okay.
So, when you look at your calendars, pretty much the rest of the month is gone for law and order. So it's gonna be, somewhere around January 7th. So,
The U.S. attorney should maybe meet with us sometime that month, in January maybe. So maybe we can still reach out to them about it.
yeah, so that's the scheduling we still gotta do. So, do we have a second for that motion? Second by Jackie. Go ahead, roll call.
George Dreamer Jr.? Yes. Craig Dillon? Yes. Sonia Little Hawk Weston? Jackie Sears? Blaine Little Thunder?
Yes.
Beef Randall?
Six yes, one not voting, motion carried. So, that's all the items we have here today, unless someone has any comments, questions before we release. And, they went after lunch, so we're just waiting for that. But it is coming. Motion by Jackie. Second by Sonia. And beef? Okay.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Craig Dillon, Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Blaine Little Thunder,
Yes.
Ron Randall, Beef Randall.
Yep.
Six yes, one not voting, motion carried. We'll see you next year.